Good afternoon, everyone. I am Coach Megan from Get Fit New Hampshire. I have Alice with me today. Today, we're going to do an interview on ataxia. Today, September rather, is Ataxia Awareness Month. So I'm going to go and ask her a bunch of questions so we can get to know this a little bit better and see how it affects her life and how strength training has impacted her condition. So, Alice, welcome. Thanks for joining. What is ataxia?
So, ataxia as a word means a lack of coordination or balance. And there's over 100 types of ataxia. It's a neurological condition. My type is spinocerebellar ataxia type 6, SCA6 for short because that's a mouthful. It's inherited, it's a genetic mutation that causes gradual deterioration of your cerebellum and the connections between your brain and your spine. And so the messages aren't getting through to your legs to tell them what they should be doing and to your speech. So hopefully I won't slur speech today, but I might. So just correct me if you don't understand. Um, there's about 1 in 100,000 people with SCA6. So that equates to like less than the size of Manchester in the whole world.
Mhm.
So what that means is there's not a lot of there is some research but very little. It's not funded, et cetera, et cetera. There is a national ataxia foundation and the ataxia awareness month. On average, my type of ataxia starts between ages 43 and 52, I think. But it can start anywhere from 19 to 73, and there's other types that unfortunately impact children and teens. Mine is slowly progressive, but all types of ataxia are progressive. My mother was in a walker, using a walker by the time she was about 65, 64, 65. And I'm hoping that the gym and strength training keep that from happening to me so soon.
What sort of resources are out there for you? It's such like a not a common condition. Are there a lot of resources available to you to help you cope with this?
Um, Not a lot, but not none. So I ended up going to Johns Hopkins last March to be evaluated, but that there's a the Massachusetts General Hospital that has some work too, but really to find someone that knows what ataxia is and works with enough patients to understand what you're going through, it's rare. So there's Johns Hopkins, there's a place in Chicago, and there's one out at UCLA has a center. Um, so it's very hard to find a doctor. Most primary care physicians have no idea. There is a Facebook group for SCA6 because SCA6 is one of the more commonly identified ones. Um, and so there's about 500 people across the world on that.
Wow.
On that.
Wow. Still such a small group. Wow. What are the symptoms like with ataxia?
So the biggest two that people are going to notice and would notice at the gym, I think, unfortunately, also make it seem like I'm drunk. So there a lack of coordination. Your legs cross over themselves if you round the corner, many walls, round the
Mhm.
corners, and slurred speech. So those two things make it sound like I said, like you're drunk.
Mhm.
Um, the other part that really became aware of when I went to Johns Hopkins was it's a lot of vision problems. So I have a nystagmus, and that means your eyes bounce around. It's worse in my left eye than my right, but it also can cause double vision and tracking difficulty. I can't walk and look at my cell phone, not
Okay.
possible,
Yep.
or the address on a building, or I have to stop. And I really think that's what caused me to fracture my shoulder last October. Was that fall was because looking at something else and trying to walk, and I can't. I now know I can't really do that. So things at the gym. We were doing the farmer's carry the other day. I was like, okay, holding weights and trying to walk in a straight line, and people are moving around. It's like
Yeah.
my brain is like, no can do.
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Was that fall that you took, was that the when you were diagnosed with ataxia?
I
I
was
know it's
actually
hereditary, but
yeah. I was formally diagnosed in July. They did a genetic test. So that's
Okay.
when I got my formal diagnosis. They verified it last March that it probably was what it was. But my mother had problems. Core exercise is probably really important. So then I started saying, yeah, what I'm doing is probably not enough at home, and I need
Hmm.
something um, more defined, more detailed.
Gotcha. So how has this impacted your life since being diagnosed?
Yeah. I the two big things. Well, I had two falls in the last year and a half. One of them I think may have happened anyway. It was on ice, but not sure. But the big thing is just fatigue in capital letters. It's like your brain. I can do because of the gym and because I walk a lot. I can keep doing a lot of those things. But for me to walk down the road or around the block takes the kind of concentration it takes at the gym to like do chin ups or
Mm.
deadlifts where you have to think about all your body parts and what you're doing. I
Yep.
I don't just walk anywhere anymore. So you just get very tired because your brain is trying to do what it used to do without the same ability because your cerebellum is deteriorating.
Mm.
Um, and then the other one, I think, oh, there's two things. One, it's redefined multitasking for me.
I bet.
Multitasking is now walking the dog while looking somewhere else. I
Yes.
usually have to try to stick to one thing, or I start to stumble. My speech starts to go.
Mhm.
And then the other thing I think I've noticed is a lot more grateful and a lot more frustrated than I used to
Mm.
be, and trying to balance those two. So, when I come to the gym, a lot of times if I'm actually managing a chin up assisted, I'm like really grateful. Like, I don't feel bad. I don't feel like this is too much work. I'm just like, I can still do this.
Yeah. And especially considering, not just the ataxia, but also, the injuries that you sustained from the fall and being able to do that is really impressive also.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Because of you guys. And grateful to my husband for just, there's times when I'm tired and I'm not walking well and he's helping me, or just 100 things that he does a day. Um, and then just the frustration, though I try most of the time to think I'm still doing a lot more than my mother was at this age.
Mhm.
Um, there's still 100 times a day where I either poke myself in the eye when I'm trying to put my hair out of the way, or I try to tie my shoes 3 times before I get it right,
Yeah.
or I walk into a doorway,
Yeah.
and then my husband will hear me go, "Ah!" because it's just maddening. It's just maddening.
Yeah.
So those are the
Um,
three.
so the next question I was going to ask you is how has it affected your family? And you spoke a little bit about your husband, but I also know that you have, a daughter also. So how has that affected them over the last couple year or so?
Yeah, that's a hard one. So genetic, and they have a 50% chance of getting it. So
Mm.
one of the reasons I had the gene testing done was if I found out my type, their genetic test would be a lot less expensive. They could just look for that. They'll have the same type. So their planning right now. My daughter's a PT, so the way she looks at it is you made it to this age and you did all the things you did. So
Mhm.
I'm okay with that. But I still think, you know, especially when I'm with my son and my daughter, we all ramp up our speech because we're all fast talkers.
Yeah.
They hear me slur a lot more, and I think it does. I worry that they worry about me and
Sure.
what's going to happen to me and
Mhm.
how our relationship will change. So yeah.
Have you, so speaking to that, you said, there are fast talkers. Are you able to follow the conversation? Okay. Like even, when they're talking a mile a minute.
Yeah, the cerebellum, I guess, doesn't control hearing,
Okay.
but speech. So I end up and swallowing.
Hmm.
So,
Okay. Gotcha. And so how has strength training improved the symptoms or how has that affected you?
yeah, the one thing they're clear in the research on ataxia is that exercise helps. That you can relearn things or keep doing things because you're training your brain over and over, even though those parts are getting weaker. So I think of it in two ways at the gym. One is I'm stronger,
Hmm.
and so that makes a lot of things easier. There are, this is going to sound kind of hokey, but many people who have ataxia tell a story of breaking a toilet seat because
Hmm.
they can't lower themselves onto the toilet without,
Yeah.
they don't have the control. And so
Sure.
all the squats and deadlifts have been really excellent for them,
Yeah.
getting up from a crouch. And I think the other thing is what you guys do so well is you make us very aware of form. And so it was an easier transition for me to start thinking about where is my foot landing? You know, how am I standing right now? Am I holding my stomach in while I'm walking so that I can control sort of when I start to go awry, I
Mhm.
can like tighten my stomach muscles and have more control. So all those little things that we're constantly being made aware of at the gym, I think helps train me to do the same thing.
Yeah. That's 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 really cool to say it that way and understand how that affects you outside of the gym. Aside from the gym, what other things improve symptoms for you?
Speech therapy I went to for a little while, and in the car on my way to school, I'll practice words. On the way here, I was saying spinocerebellar. And the word cookie just trips me up over and over. So I'll
Mhm.
practice the words that I don't know, or that I know that I'm fumbling on. Uh, Swallowing exercises to strengthen my tongue because recently I've really started choking on food. It was something totally different. I started coughing, jagging. It just evolved into
Mhm.
something more because of the ataxia. So uh, you, you have to sort of strengthen your tongue so that you swallow more. So I do those every day.
Mhm.
Um, I should be doing vision exercises and more balance exercises. I'm calculated all the things I should be doing.
Yeah.
It was like 20 plus hours a week. I was like, no
Yeah.
human being can do this,
Right. It's
you
a
know,
part-time
and work.
job. No.
so, so I try to do what I can. I try to incorporate um, things in my life like the gym and like walking my dog every day, even though she's a nutcase and
Yeah.
everywhere. That's
That's
good
there's some
practice.
balance exercise right
As long as
there.
I'm really careful. So I try to do that. I cook a lot, so
Mhm.
I haven't got my fingers, excuse me, ataxia.
Mhm.
Um, I haven't got my fingers off yet, so
That's good.
I can sometimes flip the food out of the pan.
Your dog probably loves that.
Yes, yes, right there. um, but so trying to do those things, I picked up golf because my daughter and husband golf. And even though I'm terrible at it, just trying to track the ball, which I can't really do. But because I've been doing it more and more, I can do it a little better. So
Yeah.
I try to incorporate it into my, because you can't do 20 hours of exercise a week.
Right.
I
Right.
try to incorporate it into the rest of my life.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add about ataxia or how it affects you or anything at all that you feel people should know about it?
I think one thing I became aware of, and I hope more people become aware of just by us talking about this, is that there's a lot of people that have disabilities, and I think I've had my own impatience with that. When I used to be a runner, running around people who are walking more slowly, or older people, I've become much more patient, and so I think it's just if you see people acting drunk, it might be ataxia, especially if they're at the gym at 5 in the morning.
Right. Yes.
So,
Don't judge, right?
other neurological condition, and just to be more empathetic and sympathetic. And I think the other thing is just to increase awareness. If you know people talk about, say something about it, it's very, very hard to find a doctor who knows anything about this. So your general PCP, they don't even know the word,
Right.
much
Right.
less what it means
Yeah.
and how it might impact your body. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, thank you for taking the time to explain that to us. We'll be sharing this on social media for the next week or so as we wrap up September, which is Ataxia Awareness Month. So thank you, Alice, for educating us today.
Thank
And
you, Megan, for giving me the opportunity. I appreciate it.
anytime.